Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Sky Fantasy Football Game Week preview. It feels like it's been forever since I last done one of these, but I thought I'd start off today's video just kind of explaining a little thing of what's kind of going on right now. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of uni work recently, and yesterday I kind of finished it, not really like officially finished uni, but I've finished the big part, which has been taking up a lot of my time for the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of months I should say, but that is now finished, which means I can now put more focus back into the videos, which means from next week we will start having more videos again, and the game week previews have been a little bit all over the place, coming out on random days. Obviously today this is coming out late on Thursday, which is obviously quite late considering the game week starts on Saturday, but from now on the game week previews are going to be back to being on a Tuesday, and hopefully should be back to getting a regular schedule back into things. But let's get into the game week preview. We are starting off with the average remaining transfers. Again, not really too much to go over as we've just passed an international break, so we're not going to look at the most common transfers in this week because nothing has really happened. But average remaining transfers, a few dips, and a couple of them. The top 1,000's now down to 13, but it's only really dropped like a tiny wee bit. The only thing that has went up is the top 10, which is probably going to fluctuate quite a bit over the next few weeks. But top 100, we're looking at about 11, top 1,000, 13. So again, last week or 2 weeks ago before the international break, we went over the transfer schedule that we looked at the start of the season. And it basically means from game week 34, we had planned to have about 15 transfers. So I think if you're about 15 transfers, again, the average is 13 in the top 1,000. I think if you're about 15, you're definitely in a decent position. I think for me, the cut-off would be about 12. Like, if you're on 12, then you can't do everything that you want to do. I think maybe like 13, 14, or more than that, you're definitely in a pretty decent position, and you can really take advantage of most of the fixture gains, as there is only about maybe 7-8 weeks left. And I think maybe 8 games, I'm not too sure on the exact amount of games, but really not that long to go. So if we're looking at about 15 transfers now, you're really talking about 2 transfers every week until the end of the season, which is definitely going to be a big bonus. So it is a big game week this week. We do have a lot of fixtures to go over. We've got games on Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. So we've got 5 captaincy days to look at. We are starting off with the Saturday games, and again, a lot of decent captaincy options. I've pinned down to Son and Palmer. I think you could maybe also look at someone like Isak if you had him in your team. Obviously Watkins there against Wolves looks a pretty decent option. And then maybe someone like Muniz. I don't think really too many people are going to have him, but he is someone who is playing quite well for Fulham right now, and they are playing against Sheffield. But for me, I think it's Son or Palmer. And then looking at the fixtures, it's obviously 2 of the easiest fixtures you can get in the league. We've got Luton and we have Burnley. Son, I think, does stand out here a bit more than Palmer does. You can look at the goal scoring probabilities. Son's at 58% and Palmer's at 45%. And then in terms of the expected goals conceded down the bottom, Luton are first in terms of most expected goals conceded, and Burnley are sitting third. So I think it's going to be one of those weeks where both of these guys do end up doing really well. I think this Saturday could definitely be a big day for points. You've got the likes of Bournemouth playing against Everton. Solanke could do well in that game as well. If you've got maybe Spurs defenders as well playing against Luton, big chance of a clean sheet there as well. So I think we could see a lot of people get off to a really, really good start this week with these games. But in terms of the chances conceded as well, both of these guys kind of play off the middle. Palmer maybe a bit more off the right, but again, you can see with the chances conceded that Luton do concede the most down the middle and down the right. But with 126 down the middle, I'd definitely be looking at Son over Palmer in that situation. On Sunday, it's Haaland versus Salah, and I think for me, Salah is the better option here. Brighton, obviously, you can see by the goals conceded, Brighton, the expected chances conceded, Brighton don't really concede too many. They are 17th in terms of expected goals conceded, which is actually quite surprising with the amount of goals that they have conceded this season, and the lack of clean sheets that they've got. But I think with Haaland playing against Arsenal, Arsenal are the best defence in the league. Obviously, Haaland's at home, and it's not as big as a discrepancy in terms of the goal probabilities that I would have expected. Salah only 7% more than Haaland is likely to score, but again, both home fixtures. For me, Salah would be the guy I'd go for here. Just back from injury, of course. I think most of us are going to be looking to transfer him in. I doubt too many people will have him already. But you can see by the chances conceded that Brighton don't actually concede that many chances down the right hand side. So I think if you're maybe looking for a differential, someone like Nunez could be a very good option. Have him down the middle. And then obviously Liverpool play Sheffield during the week as well, and maybe you could go for a double up of Salah and Nunez for that game. Could definitely work out, but again, I think the stats definitely favour Salah for this captaincy here, but it's one of those ones where Man City could easily turn up against Arsenal. I think we saw it last season and it was like 4-1, I want to say. But yeah, for me it would be the Salah captaincy all day here, but I would understand why people would go for Haaland. I do think Salah is going to be the most captained player on this day though. I think if it was an away fixture, it would be a different story, but yeah, I think the majority of us are going to end up going with Salah on Sunday. On Tuesday, it's another day where there could be a lot of different captaincy options. I've pinned it down to Son and Solanke here, but I think again, someone like Isak could be a pretty decent option. I think in terms of goal scoring probabilities, Isak is up there with Son and Solanke, but for this one, I did pick these two because they are more popular than Isak is, and I don't think too many people are going to own him. But again, another quite even captaincy in terms of goal scoring probabilities. They are both at 42%, but when you look at the other stats around it, the stats clearly favour Son in this one. West Ham are 4th for expected goals conceded, which means other than the 3 relegation teams, Luton, Burnley and Sheffield, West Ham have conceded or have the most expected goals conceded in the league this season. So obviously an away game for Son it's not going to be as favourable as a home game, but again, it's another one where you look at the chances conceded up the top there, and West Ham have 141 down the middle, and they're really just conceding chances from everywhere this season. You can see the difference between West Ham and Palace. Palace have only conceded 76 down the middle, so we're looking at nearly double the amount of chances conceded from West Ham than Palace do. So I definitely would be favouring Son in this one. Wednesday's another day where it is definitely an interesting captaincy. I wasn't expecting to see Haaland so high on the goal scoring odds. 62% for him to score against Aston Villa. I originally looked at these fixtures and thought, absolutely, I'm going for Saka. I feel like there's no arguing about that one, but you're looking at the goal scoring odds and Haaland is definitely coming out on top in that one. Obviously Villa are 12th for expected goals conceded, whereas Luton are 1st, which is where you would think Saka is going to be a very good option. And then you look at the chances conceded. Again, Luton most chances down the right, but they are kind of just conceding from everywhere right now. So I think even though the goal scoring odds favour Haaland in this one, I still would be going for Saka. Obviously with the amount of goals that Arsenal scoring right now, I feel like you can't go for them at home against Luton. That's one of those games that you could easily see like 3-4-0. Maybe Saka only picks up a goal or an assist, but I think it's going to be a big game for Aston Villa trying to get that top 4 spot, and I think it's going to be a lot closer than clearly the bookies expect, with 62% for Haaland scoring. I think that is literally like the most we've had so far as well, which is very surprising to be honest. But I think for me this week I would go against what the odds say, and I would be going for Saka as the captaincy. But if you wanted to play it safe, I think Haaland could be a decent option. But I think it's going to be one of those ones where, looking at those fixtures alone, Saka is probably going to be the most captained player, because a lot of your casuals are just going to see Luton and Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa are a good team, Luton aren't a so good team, and just be captaining Saka there. So I think your differential pick might actually be Haaland on this Wednesday. And Saka will be the most captained, but for me I think Saka is probably the better pick there. And then finally on to Thursday's games. It's another day of Salah or Palmer. Thursday I think this is the easiest captaincy pick you'll probably get all season. Salah is obviously the one that we're going to be looking at. No one's really going to be captaining Cole Palmer against Man United here. If anything, this comparison should be between Salah and another Liverpool player. I think maybe you could go for someone like Van Dijk, but in this situation, this could easily be like a 7-8-0 game against Sheffield. We have seen it already multiple times this season where Sheffield concede a ton of goals. Again, this is another one where you just go for Salah here. You could possibly look at maybe again Darwin Núñez. Already spoke about him. Looking at the chances conceded, they do favour the wide players against Sheffield, which is why Salah is in here. But if you wanted a backup, obviously if we're talking like 4, 5, 6 goals being scored, you would probably want 2 Liverpool attackers. Whether you want that long term or not, we can look at the fixture gains after this and maybe look into that. But for me, I think Salah's the standout pick here. I don't really think there needs to be much arguing about that one. And then for our fixture gains then, we do have some extra fixtures that were announced by the Premier League a couple of days ago, which is now these ones from the 20th of April, so we basically get 2 weeks worth of fixtures here. A couple of blanks have been announced in here, which does make things a little bit interesting. You can see a big gap here for the likes of Spurs players. City have a pretty big gap there as well, along with Brighton, who do have a pretty decent gap, but this is a couple of weeks away. We are looking about 2 weeks from now. But one thing that I did notice when I was kind of like putting all this together, obviously I look at these fixture games at the same times as you guys. I'm not really like preparing anything before it. Spurs have again the massive gap. They only had 2 games up until like the end of April after Tuesday. So you're really looking at like a lot of like 6 for 2s in here, 5 for 2s, where Spurs only play Forest and Newcastle. Again, you're probably going to be wanting Son in here anyway. I wouldn't be taking Son out. He's going to be your captain for this day here. But if you've got someone like Romero, if you've got Vicario in goal, you're looking at 6 for 2 with Liverpool, and it's very nice fixtures for Liverpool in there as well. Sheffield, United not so much, but Palace, Fulham, Everton, West Ham. 6 very, very good fixtures for Liverpool, and you're looking at a 6 for 2 over Spurs. So maybe if you've got the money in the bank to do Romero to Van Dijk, or I'm not sure when Alisson's back, but if Alisson's back, maybe Vicario in there as well. But again, five fixtures for Everton, 5 fixtures for Palace, 5 for Chelsea, including 2 single game days. Obviously, we're going to have Palmer already, so can't really consider them as extra fixtures. Arsenal as well have 5 fixtures in there, including a single against Chelsea. But the main thing I'd be looking at is definitely these Liverpool fixtures, because they look very, very nice, even including the Brighton one. Obviously, most of us will be bringing Salah in this week, but it just kind of goes to show how someone like Darwin Núñez could be a very, very nice differential, especially when you see like Liverpool have no gaps in here. Like they've got max of 2 spaces, compared to a lot of teams that have like a lot more gaps in there. So Liverpool definitely look like they've got more fixtures over the coming weeks. So maybe stacking up on Liverpool players could be a pretty decent option. Obviously, with the new fixtures, we do have the new captaincies as well. So I've put together who I think is the best captains with the upcoming game weeks. This is the table we've got. We've got Salah 4 times, Haaland 4 times, Saka 3 times, Son 3 times, Palmer twice, and then I've got Højlund twice as well. The both of the Højlund ones are right beside each other, which is good. We've got this one on the Wednesday and then this one on the Saturday. Going back on here, it is these Sheffield and Burnley games, so you don't really have to worry about getting him in at that point, but I think he could be a very nice one to go for when the Man United fixtures turn. I wouldn't be getting him anytime soon. Obviously they've got Chelsea and they've got Liverpool coming up, and then they have this big gap, but I think when it comes round to the end of April time, getting someone like Højlund, or maybe someone like Garnacho if you don't have the money, could be a pretty decent option. But again, there's no real differential captains. Everyone's going to have at least these 5 guys here, and then Højlund's really the only differential one. So most of the differential, or most of the gains, are going to be made from the extra fixtures rather than the captaincies. As worth noting as well, these are the single game days that are available. Chelsea have 3 of them, although most of us do have Palmer. It could be an interesting one if you wanted to go differential. Maybe someone like Nicholas Jackson, who's been scoring recently, another striker that could be pretty decent. But fixture gains for this week then, we do have these ones. Let's have a look. After Saturday, a couple 3s in there. The likes of Arsenal have 3, Brighton have 3 where Chelsea only have 1, so an Arsenal and Brighton 3-1 over Chelsea. Over Man United as well, maybe if you're still holding Garnacho, could be a decent chance to move off of there. Obviously Spurs as well. I think I'd be looking for Spurs to get rid of those guys after the West Ham game, and then obviously look to move on from these fixtures if you've got the transfers. That is, it is a very nice chance to move on to Arsenal players on the Wednesday. Let's use Romero as an example here. Have Romero for Luton and West Ham, then you can move him on the Wednesday to Saliba for this Luton fixture, and then really just keep him to the end of the season, I think. Depending on the fixtures, maybe you'd want to get him out before the Chelsea and Spurs games. On Tuesday, it doesn't really seem like we have too much going on in terms of transfers. I'm not seeing a lot of fixtures for too many teams. That's really where our threes come in. Everyone's kind of got about the same amount of fixtures there. Wednesday, I doubt there's going to be too much either. Probably go about there. West Ham have 1 fixture. There you go. So you've got maybe if you're holding Bowen, could be a chance to come off of him. I wouldn't go United here with these fixtures. City have some decent fixtures in there, so Bowen to Foden possibly, but you need to watch out that City do have these big gaps in there as well. Anyone else in there that looks pretty decent? Is that, yeah, so West Ham out, possibly Fulham and Everton, Palace. I don't think too many people are going to have any of those guys. Brighton, Brentford and City really is where you're going to be looking at with 3-1s over Jared Bowen if you've got him on Wednesday. And then Thursday, again, I don't think there's going to be too much going on with these ones. 3-1 with Sheffield, no one's interested. 3-1 with United, again, difficult fixtures in there, so I probably wouldn't be looking there over the likes of these teams. So again, not really too much. I think the biggest thing you do have to look out for is the Spurs fixtures here. Obviously we have all just kind of dumped on Son, and a good few people have went for Romero, including myself, but this looks like a pretty decent opportunity to come off of him if you're looking to move on to maybe an Arsenal player. And I definitely think Liverpool is the team to look out for over the next couple of weeks in terms of their fixtures. So, team for this week then, again, not too many changes were made. I don't think. It's been a long time since I looked at this team. I don't think we made any transfers over the last couple of weeks, which means we are still on 17 going into the last couple of weeks of the season. Still sitting about 3k as well, hopefully looking to make my way into the top 1,000 at least by the end of the season. I feel like I've got the transfers to do it. Just going to have to look at some punts in there. But in terms of some transfers I'd like to make, ideally I think my perfect team doesn't have Watkins and doesn't have Solanke. I think you can definitely get rid of Watkins now. Obviously you looked at the captaincies and Watkins isn't there anymore, and then in terms of their fixtures, they've got Man City away and they've got Arsenal away in the next couple of weeks as well. Obviously you are going to be missing, like you would have them for this Wolves game as they play on Saturday, so you're really going to be missing out on Brentford, and then you're going to be missing out on Bournemouth as well. Other than that, they've still got Liverpool to play, they've got Chelsea to play, Brighton away from home as well. It's not really great fixtures for Watkins, and I think you'd maybe get away with it going for someone else in there. Ideally, I would like to have Salah, of course, and then my other pick in there would be Saliba, which is right there. Leaves me with 0.4 in the bank, and I realistically, I think that's my perfect team going into the end of the season. And then at one point, I would take one of the defenders out. I don't actually know how much Højlund is. He is 9.1, so it would have to be either Saliba or Van Dijk at that point, and take one of them out for Højlund. Say Van Dijk for now, and then bring in Højlund, and I think I wouldn't really differentiate from that. Obviously I was speaking about Núñez. I don't think I would have him purely because I want to have this midfield 5, which doesn't really involve having 2 strikers. Could possibly, I would rather have Solanke than Watkins over the next few weeks because of these 3 fixtures, then can look to get rid of Solanke after that. Again, possibly for someone like Saliba, But I don't know. I would like to have Saliba for this Arsenal game against Luton. I feel like that's a guaranteed clean sheet in there. But at the same time, I'd also like to have Van Dijk for this Sheffield game, and probably for the foreseeable because of the Liverpool fixtures. But it is just a bit too much money to have in there. Obviously, if you're looking at the team I just showed, that would be great to have, but you do kind of have to look at the amount of fixtures that teams have and stuff, and you can't really just pick an 11 and stick with it, especially at the end of the season. Captaincies are going to be what I'd already spoke about, of course. Second team is up into the 8k range. Again, this team's a state now. Walker, I think, is injured. Morris has done absolutely nothing. Bowen needs to come out. And we're down to 13 transfers in this. So I've been saying it for weeks, maybe even months. This team is a total write-off. We are really just focusing on this one team here. But again, I still feel like I'm a pretty decent place with this team. I've got a decent chance, at least, to climb right up the rankings. I have done very well in the last couple of weeks. I think maybe in the last month and a half I've climbed about 5,000 places, which is pretty decent. I'm quite happy with it. So hopefully 8 weeks to go, or so. Is it 8 weeks to go? So we're on Gameweek 34 right now. And then the last game week is 41. So 7 game weeks to go. 17 transfers. It definitely gives you a big opportunity to climb the ranks. So hopefully we can end the season quite strong. But that is going to be the end of this video. Again, if you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like. If you're new, please subscribe. We will be back to regular Tuesday Sky Game Week previews. So again, make sure to look out for that. And I'll see you all then. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.